Welcome to the Liberty Collaborative, where the past meets the present in the fight for freedom. We uncover the roots of liberty, spotlight the people who shaped it, and explore what it takes to preserve it today. If you're ready to think deeper, stand stronger, and act with purpose, you're in the right place. Let's reclaim what matters most.
Welcome, everybody, to another Liberty Collaborative podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Bowman. And with me, as always, we have Mike Hancock from the Undercurrent on Substack. We have K. Carl Smith, the Frederick Douglass Republican himself. And we have Chris Coyle, the founder and creator of Wins Labs. And boy, do we have a great topic of discussion today. We're continuing our Branch Brawl. And we're going to be talking the DOJ grand jury targets the deep state Russian collusion hoax. I think that was what we named this one. And welcome, fellas. How are you all?
Doing great.
Fantastic. You know, there's never a shortage of news these days. It just, you can't help but bump into this stuff. It's just mind boggling. But, you know, it also gets K. Carl and Michael and Aaron to our historical roots. It raises some amazing issues. And boy, you know, we're always committed to context and content. Well, there is so much around this one, Aaron, that people are not talking about that it is material.
Yeah, there is a lot, and we are streaming today on X, so I'm just checking to make sure our feed is up, and it is. So if you're on X, drop a comment and let us know. Be great to hear where you're watching from. So yeah, there seems to be a lot of stuff in the news, and I don't know who wants to take the lead on this or start with this, but I've got some stuff about Fourth Amendment violations and, you know, FBI, FISA warrants and stuff like that to discuss. So I'll leave it up to you guys. Who wants to kick this off? You want to frame it?
I'd love to start with a frame for the audience, a contextual framework of what we're talking about here, and throw it, Michael, to you. And guys, as we get into the detail, and we know that the media wants to get right into what Brennan said or didn't say, and right, or they slip sling in the car. Let's get way above that detail for a minute and ask the following question. What is the fundamental duty of someone who is hired or elected into office? Who is that duty owed to? And I think we'd all agree it's owed to the listeners. It's owed to everybody in the United States. And we're talking about legal residents that are owed those duties that flow from the Constitution, our founding values, so the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. And when these people go into that job, they have a job description, and that duty is to the individuals. So if those duties or specific duties are breached, that they do not fulfill them, and they instead take the most powerful weapon, that is the authority of the federal government, specifically law enforcement authority, court authority, those kinds of authorities, and aim them politically. I think everyone on this call has to understand, while you might not like Trump and like that the people you like are targeting them, that easily could be reversed. And we see this all over the world where they target the opposition. So, guys, I think that's what we're talking about today. Is it accountability or is it retribution? And why this is so important for the people to understand. And certainly we got to get into the detail.
Yeah, Chris, you know, one of the things that I would say is that our people that we elect to represent us, certainly they have a responsibility to do that. And we have a responsibility to hold them accountable, right? But there's another factor, and you mentioned this at the onset, is the media and the extent to which the media plays into all of this. And you had indicated that people aren't talking about things. Actually, my observation is that they're avoiding talking about things, and it's very obvious. And I think we can get into that a little bit later. But I think it's critical for us with shows like this to begin to expose more about what's really going on.
Yeah. I think in addition to being the requirements in the job description, these people actually took an oath. They swore before God, and that's probably part of the problem too. They probably don't like our God. But they took an oath. At least that's the optics of it. And their first duty is to answer your question, Chris, is to protect us. That's number one. The role of the government, the first duty of the government, Douglas said, is protection. And we'll probably get into this later. So when you use a server that's located in your closet and you're sending out unsecure documents, classified documents, you're not protecting us. That's the violation of your oath.
And that's, okay, Carl, isn't that the core, now that this has all been finally, guys, years of peeling it back? Aaron, guys, I think the core was, right, that Hillary Clinton set that up. It was breached. The news was coming out. And so Clinton had to get the AG, Loretta, what was her name, Lynch?
Yep.
To look the other way, but this news story wouldn't go away, right? And so they began this narrative and said, while we're at it, let's make this snowball and disable this next president. But okay, Carl, to your point, that is at the heart, it appears, the seed that out of this gigantic weed grew from.
Yeah, and and this all started, for those of you who somehow were living in a cave. This all started back in December 9th of 2016, where they had a meeting of the top cabinet people to pull this together. So you had James Clapper, the director of the National Intelligence. You had Susan Rice, security advisor. You had Loretta Lynch, attorney general. You had, John Bannon, CIA director. You had all these people that came together to put this false narrative together, and now it's just starting to unwind and unravel, and you can see all the wagons circling to try to protect themselves.
That, Aaron, false narrative, and guys, correct me here, but just simplify it for the audience. So the CIA and even the FBI had intelligence that they wanted to believe suggested that there was an all-out scheme by the Russians to rig the election. All the staffers basically said that's not true. They don't have the means, the capability. There were these vague statements about intent that no one could source or verify. And is it not true that the top people, Brennan and Comey, said, no, we're not only are we ignoring that, we're going to make statements that say the opposite. And then Obama goes, yeah, throw out that other thing. I want this to happen. And they then leak it to the media. To your point, the media is culpable and is literally should be a defendant in this. I mean, they perpetrated this along with these people.
Yeah, you know what? I would characterize it a little bit differently, and it's subtle. I think from my understanding, what happened is that information was brought to what's his name? was brought to Obama that there was no such thing as collusion between Trump and the Russians, and he basically said, "I don't want that. Go away and bring me something that does indicate that." And John Brennan took the lead on going out and actually now creating that whole new narrative that ended up driving our country into a total.
But let me challenge you guys a little bit. If I rob a bank and I walk out of the bank in a business suit and I got suitcases full of money, and you, Michael, are driving a car and you're picking me up and you know what's in the suitcases and you drive me away and you say, I didn't do it. No, you're a vehicle of the crime. The media knew they are a vehicle of crime. So I would say, I don't know how that will happen. I think our side of capitalism, freedom, and liberty says, no, we don't think you should boycott advertising the New York Times. If they do a good job for you, great. The question would be, is their audience, do they have an audience left? But not to steer it up, but Aaron, you guys, I think the media is absolutely culpable in executing this crime against all people in the United States. Because again, for those that are left, Democrats, Republican, when an official can abuse their authority, and Lady Justice no longer has that blindfold, but now she's peeking going, I want to get these guys. That is a breach of duty to everybody in this country.
It is.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. And what really kind of aggravates me a little bit is the fact that this Steele dossier was created out of fabricated, right? And now you have people's Fourth Amendment rights being violated because of it. So now all of a sudden they can, put surveillance on the Trump campaign, any associates, and now they're coming in, and you're supposed to have, be secure in your persons, your house, your papers, your effects. And now that is just totally eroded away because of a false narrative that these people putting this stuff together. I mean, it's really kind of scary when you think about it.
Well, they never, Carl, Michael, when you charge people and make allegations, and you can have things take years. Remember the Mueller investigation, this wonderful man Mueller?
Yep.
When he was asked by the Republicans in a hearing who Christopher Steele was, do you remember his answer?
He didn't know.
He didn't know. I didn't know. So he wasn't investigating the truth. He was looking for a certain narrative that he could not find. But remember, this never went to a judge, a jury. It is now, hopefully, but all they wanted to do was keep it swirling, right? These allegations. And so, Comey goes, oh, we're going to have a special prosecutor. Well, that didn't work. And just think about it. When they went, that is, Durham went to court with this guy Sussman. For everyone listening, this is the lawyer who was the bagman of the information from a law firm that turns out was from the DNC, all hidden, and carries this stuff. And when they brought him to court, you know where he went to trial? In D.C. Now, I don't know if the judge was Boasberg, but you get the flavor. He walked, right? And he was readmitted to the D.C. bar a few months later.
And there lies the problem, Chris, because they can do all these things but not be punished for it.
Not held accountable.
And so the problem is, what I see this happening a lot, it's not just at that level, but that's at the local level. Too many Americans treat politics like it's their favorite sports team.
Yeah.
Right or wrong, I'm gonna support my team.
Right.
Right or wrong, and I'm gonna be silent. If they're cheating, I'm gonna be silent about it. No, that
Right.
blind loyalty is anti-patriotism.
Yeah.
Well,
And I think it's a problem of moral failure as well.
absolutely. And the media plays right along with it, because right now the media is telling everyone that, oh, don't look, this has all been investigated before. There's nothing here to see, right?
Right.
It's mind-boggling. Aaron, I did a little homework on sort of surrounding stuff. And just so people understand this idea of relentless ongoing litigation. If we can't win, we'll just keep in the game. And then the media can say, oh, he's been charged. Well, you know how many of these district court orders Trump has won? 14 out of 18. I just read that this morning. So this is ongoing, right? Think about another angle. Trump administration has said to a lot of these big law firms, we don't want to do business with you. Executive order. Perkins Coie was the front for the DNC's shenanigans, their illegal actions. We don't want to work with you. Well, now you read headlines and they say Trump administration attacking large law firms. You got to love the word attack. Okay, go to your point. How about another A word? Accountable. So how can we trust your law firm to do work for our administration and federal government when you can be as crooked as that and hide it for as long as you did?
You're right, Chris. And, with that, and, with you talking, I was thinking about how you were talking about the fake news, and I really should have played my fake news jingle for that. But with all that news coming out about this Russian inclusion, it really forced the other side. It almost took away like that First Amendment right for the people that were saying, no, this isn't right. You're framing this. You're making me part of this thing that didn't happen. And now all of a sudden you have this government leak disinformation type stuff, and you're the bad person if you challenge it or question it. And I think, getting back to what you were saying, that a lot of people all of a sudden, like Kay Carl was saying, I'm going to support my team either way. And when something's wrong, I'm going to be quiet. I think it also goes on the other side where something is wrong and you start trying to speak out about it. Then all of a sudden now you're a bad person for speaking out about it.
Whistleblowers, I read the whistleblowers are now whistling again. And it turns out when they went to the inspector general at the time and said, I want to report stuff, particularly apparently this guy in the CIA, they told him, we can't help you. He'll have to sort of quit. And or all the other guys that had their security clearances taken away by the HR people in the FBI to silence them, costing them years of income for their family they'll never get back. So this was evil stuff. And again, people have to understand, Michael, every day people are in traffic court. Every day there's small claims. If the cop said, well, Michael was belligerent, K. Carl had a bag of dope in his, no, he didn't. No, that was planted. Those are lies. People go, well, that's not fair. Oh, I see. So if it's not fair in your traffic court hearing or in something you did that they're lying, but you're out cheering that it's okay to lie on a federal level, you guys are right. When it's your own property, your own rights, you expect blind justice and fairness. Why not expect it out of our most powerful officials? I don't get the disconnect.
Well, Chris, I totally agree with that. One of the strange things that I've witnessed in people, though, is that sometimes when it gets to the government and politics and stuff like that, the first question people will ask is when you present them with information like that, well, why would they do that? Why? And so there's a whole denial or somehow a barrier to actually get people to dig in and be inquisitive about what's really going on. And it can be complex, of course.
That's a very good point. I had a discussion with somebody one time about that very point. They said, well, I wouldn't do anything like that. This is not about what you would do. You and I wouldn't do this, but there are people who will do it and sold out to do it.
Yes, and are doing it.
Yeah. And they're so corrupt. This is their method of operation, Chris. This is how they operate.
So I'm wondering.
And you're talking to a former Democrat.
Yeah,
I know a lot of stuff that gotta.
Guys, how, K. Carl, to your point, you're trying to unwire the crime, right? You're trying to get to motive. Because now we know what happened, but we're still not perfectly clear why. And for a long time, we were going, are they really that scared of Donald Trump? Like, is he that terrible? Was it political philosophy? And now what we're realizing is, no, it was to protect the Clintons. But I would submit to you it gets better. You know what the Clintons were running? A shakedown operation called the Clinton Foundation. So if you look at the thread here, everyone's in on the take. The Bidens do it. Obama did it, right? The famous let's publish a book and then, someone buys $1 million worth of books. So these guys have had a money machine. And I believe the reason they were scared to get Trump is he would blow it up like he's doing. That's what this is.
Yeah, they're very corrupt. And here's what they do realize. And they realize this to the T, is that the truth will someday rise. A lie can't live forever. And they know that. And they know that that's why they're trying to keep the man out of office. All these made up stories of what happened, and now the truth is coming out. Now they're trying to turn the narrative, say, oh, he's being as accusatory, he's coming after his political enemies. No. Let's look at the facts and stop protecting politicians based on their label, because wrong is wrong.
Well, to your point, is there an equivalent war here, guys, where, okay, Trump is a billionaire developer guy, right? All these other people had not so much money when they came into government, but a ton when they went out. So what's interesting is well, Trump was going to take that jet from Qatar, or God, they're going around building buildings, hotels around the world, and then they're putting people there. All right, there's always that intersection of lobbying and commerce. We get it. And that knife cuts both ways, right? But what we're talking about here is orchestrated power of government to run a money machine. Clinton's Secretary of State, Bill's out making speeches. Thank you, Michael. $500,000 from the Russians. while she's signing off on uranium minerals to Russian. That's what I think is about money.
Well, it's about money and it's about power. I mean,
Always.
Clinton,
Always about
the
power.
whole Clinton thing is just one tiny aspect of it. The reason that they wanted Trump not to be anywhere near it is that it put them out of power. And even for the time when Trump first came in, they spent that whole first term attempting to try to keep him distracted and off foot so that he couldn't disrupt their ongoing process. But he, of course, came back in now and he put his team in place. And so we're seeing, that's why we're seeing the great results that we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, you know, real quick,
Yeah.
I think we have somebody that can answer some of these questions for us. I have a call coming in right now. If you guys want me to tap into that call and so everybody can hear it.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Here. And on the phone with us right now is former President Barack Obama. How are you, sir?
Hello, everybody.
Well, I want to say thanks for calling in today. And I'm just going to ask you right out because all of our listeners want to know, are you part of the deep state? And did you have anything to do with this false dossier and Russian hoax?
Okay, you know what? No.
Okay, well, that was well put. Is there anything else you'd like to let our listeners know?
You can take that to the bank.
All right, just having a little fun there.
So are you the executive producer of that?
Yeah.
Just for that, yes, thank you very much. I spent my morning. I wanted to add a little humor to it. I love the jingles. Yeah, it's, you know, with everything that's going on, it should be interesting. I keep watching, you know, the news and stuff like that. And you know, I there's a quote here, and this is from The Hill. They're talking about Tulsi Gabbard, and she had said, which exposes a clear and blatant weaponization by corrupt intelligence officers acting at the east of the Democratic Party, like former President Obama and administration remains committed to conducting a thorough investigation. I mean, really, that's all we can ask for. You know, we are, you know, we're a society based on laws. And like Madison said, if men were angels, no government would be necessary. Well, that's just not the case. So we should be allowed to have the system work itself out. And if there is any type of corruption, regardless of what side it's on, bring that forward and let the people decide.
Yeah, accountability. Guys, look up this guy Boasberg, because he was on the FISA court. And what you find is he sort of said, oh, FBI, don't do that. You need some reforms. While he approved all these FISA warrants. So if a judge looks like they were bought off, and we know the history of Boasberg to the current day, but this is how they had it wired. They lied to the FISA court. The judge said, oh, don't do that again. But meanwhile, go ahead and eavesdrop. How do we hold people accountable? And I think it is an actual trial, grand jury. And that's what people understand. So to call it retribution means without a trial, you go and cut their pensions, you do whatever. But who was it? That old fella Stone was marched out of his house in his underwear in the wee hours of the morning.
Oh, yeah.
CNN was already there with cameras.
Oh, yeah.
And they got guns. So this is what they're doing to people they don't like. And what they get is to hire a lawyer, go sit in front of people, plead the fifth. But people need, Aaron, Kaker, all of us, don't we need to see this go through the legal system for the Republicans who are in power right now to do this correctly?
Absolutely.
I'd say, Chris, I think you're absolutely right. One of the things that we're dealing with right now, though, is that the progressives have set this context that we've got to somehow escape. And that context is they do wrong, but when you actually discover that they've done wrong and you want to investigate it, then to your point, it becomes retribution. And then they have the media on their side to actually push that. So we live in this, and I live in this world of like keeping people confused because there's no objective way to look at what's going on. Because to K. Carl's point, if you're on the other team, then you're going to look at it and say, oh, these guys are doing something bad, right?
And, and the way they keep a lot of people confused is always running every day a negative narrative against the point of the spear. If you do that every day, even though it's not true, some of that's going to stick.
Yeah.
And if
That's
you're
what
not,
they're counting on.
and
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. And
Yeah.
in some cases, they're successful at it. But
Yeah.
here's, when I did my research on the topic we're discussing today, my takeaway was I said, wait a minute. Freedom is not being protected by these Washington politicians. It's not being protected, and that's obvious because they get away with what we'll go to jail for.
There you go.
So
There
it's
you
going
go.
to take everyday American citizens. It's more of us than it are them to get involved.
Yep.
And become better messengers of liberty.
Demand accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, like you say, K. Carl, all the time, it starts at the local level. It starts with getting involved in your local town politics. And whether it's, phone banking for a candidate or door knocking or running for office yourself because you're tired of sitting on the sidelines and you just need to move that needle, and going to protests and everything else isn't doing it. That's where it all starts. And like you said, if it doesn't start with us, then I don't think it ever will.
Well, and think of the layers of credibility that are crumbling, right? So we have a local guy who is our congressman who always says, I'm the most independent guy because he's voting for defense bills, but he's rubber stamped all this stuff. So you ask a guy like this, Joe Courtney is his name, in the 2nd district. Hey, Joe, did you know Obama's mental capacity was fading? So either yes, he did. Why were you standing by? Or no, I had no input. I never saw the president, which tells you a lot about what he's doing. Well, then you go, what about the auto pen? Well, what about all these fake investigations? Who knew? When did they know what they did? So these folks are on a foundation where every foundation block, I think, is starting to crumble right underneath them.
That's what you get when you cheer for your political team instead of cheering and standing for truth. That's exactly what you get. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
And real quick, I just want to say to the 14 people that are watching on X, thank you. And thank you for America First US for reposting and retweeting or re-Xing. I don't know what they call it these days. The stream, much appreciated. And I think we're going to try to go live more often. I think it's it's a great way to interact with people. So,
well, and Aaron, if we can let our audience know that what we hope makes Liberty Collaborative different is we work to get you more content that the mainstream media doesn't provide, and context. The context, a lot of this stuff is so missing. People get down to this little thing. And to your guy's point, they keep bringing up what Brendan said where. Most people get so confused. Whereas if we were in nursery school or a home with our mother at the table, they'd say simple. Did you or did you not lie? Right. Did you or did you not? Yeah, well, I did. Oh, thank you. Right. So this is pretty simple. And then finally, K. Carl, we try and give historical perspective. And K. Carl, I've been hearing the whole time reading about Douglas, who used to look at the plantation as slave owners, go to church on Sunday.
Oh, we lost Chris. Second.
Sorry.
You there? Okay. Technical difficulties, folks.
No, but K. Carl, Frederick Douglass used to look at these slave owners, go to church on Sunday, and look like they actually believed what they were saying to each other. That I'm God-fearing. He goes, this is so hypocritical. And it took him a while to get his head around God. But I see the hypocrisy here and sort of that historical similarity where you go, how can they do this and actually show up in church or act like they're ethical, moral people?
Because they have a reprobate mind. And when you have a reprobate mind, you have no sense of conscience at all. God said, I'll take my hands off of you. You want your wicked ways, I'll let you have it. And there go your reprobate, there go your conscience with that. And so you have this reprobate mind. We can see it, but they can't see it.
Yeah.
And that's so, I never think that in my lifetime I'll be using the word reprobate mind to discuss what's happening in my country.
Yeah.
And our leaders.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And Chris, going back to your comment about, when if your parents asked you if if you lied or not. And it was a very simple yes or no. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Elkins versus United States where it came out that if evidence is obtained unlawfully, it is the fruit of the poisonous tree and cannot be used.
Correct.
So why are they allowing this false? Why did they allow this false information to get these FISA warrants where they could spy on all these people? We have precedents already set in the court. Why? I don't know.
Well, Aaron, you raise a heck of a question. I would ask everyone listening and our team, how do you fix this? There's no doubt that you've got a finder of truth, finder of fact, and then what specific laws were broken. You've got to play that out, hold these people accountable. But after that, how do you prevent it? How do you prevent people from lying to the FISA court? I know it's extreme. How about a shooting squad? How about the death sentence? Oh, I'm not going to do that. But how do you stop courts, same theme, just different, in New York State, New York City, Letitia James, the Attorney General, and then this guy, Alvin Bragg, make up new crimes and are able to use the legal system to tie up a candidate they didn't agree with? How do we stop that from happening? There's got to be sanctions. People are fired. Today, they get fired. They go on MSNBC. So it seems to me we have to make them accountable. But how do we fix this, I guess, is the question.
That's a really good question. I know I don't have the answer, but there's got to be accountability, and maybe it's through the grand jury and actually putting some teeth behind what these agencies are doing as far as, again, that big accountability word, holding them accountable. And like you said, Chris, though, if they do get fired, it's going to be off the MSNBC. I was joking, they'll start a podcast. I mean, look at Newsom. He's all over the podcasting world now. He's doing this and that. And it's like, I wish there was an easy answer, but I think it's really going to be adults to start acting like adults and putting on their big boy or girl pants and holding people accountable.
Okay, Carl, what's the quote you love so much of Frederick Douglass about how much people are willing to take? The measure.
Why you put me on a spot like that?
That's one of our favorites we talk about.
Yeah. What he said, I can only paraphrase.
Yeah.
He said, if you want to see the measure of oppression that people are experiencing, going through in life, just look at the things that they're allowing to happen.
Willing to tolerate.
Yeah, you're not agitating. You're sitting back and you watching things happen, and you're being oppressed by those things. Therefore, just take a look at your lack of involvement to end those things. And getting back to your question, you brought up, Aaron, I think one of the things we need to do to turn things around, we got to start with our own children. For example, I have 8 grandchildren, and I make one thing I do when I talk to my grandchildren, I make sure they are not celebrity worshipers. That's part of the problem.
Yep.
They look at these influencers, they look at these politicians, they see it on TV all the time, and think that they are somehow better than we are. They put their pants on differently, so when they commit a crime, they get away with it, and there's no outcry. Because why? We view them as celebrity worshipers, and that's part of the problem. We got to stop that, and let's be real about this thing, and that because truth is not red or blue. Truth is right or wrong.
Yep.
And that's how you got to look at this.
Yeah.
And so, but when you deal with people with a reprobate mind, now you're dealing with someone that you have to be, you got to catch them in the act because they'll lie about it.
Yeah.
You got to catch them in the act.
We got to call it out.
I think one of the other components is education. We've got to make sure that our kids, our grandkids are educated and understand things like how this country was founded, the principles upon which it was founded for. My 2 grandsons just this past week finished reading 2 different versions of a biography on Frederick Douglass, right? And they're writing book reports. So I think it's incumbent upon us as parents and grandparents to make sure that our kids are getting as much of the truth about the founding of this document, enough of the truth about what is right and what is wrong, so that they carry that forward. Because the way things work right now in judgeships, you have people that are actually there intending no good. right? You have people in every level of government, whether it's local, whether it's state, whether it's federal and stuff. There are bad people in those places. There's good people too. But what we need to do is make sure that we educate folks enough so that we get more of an abundance of the good people.
Hey, Chris, I remember now it's come to my mind here. They asked Douglas at one time, so how are we going to end slavery? We just had all these defeats up to this point. How are we going to end this thing? And Douglas said, "What do you mean? How are we going to end it? We're going to vote for people who want to end slavery. That's all we have to do.
Yeah.
Get involved and vote for people who want to end slavery."
Yeah.
So it's just that simple. So we have the power. We just got to become more sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And do something about this.
You know, as I'm listening to you guys, I'm thinking we're in August. Mini camps have started the NFL. And one of the biggest, you guys correct me, but I think the NFL, in terms of a global spectator sport on TV, is gigantic. And maybe we need to use analogies with people and say, let me start with some basics. If you saw the referees over in the locker room with the other team, and they're coming out, they're getting in the limousines that the other team paid for, do you think the fans would enjoy that experience? Or I know, how about one field goal is this big and the other field goal is this big? How would Alabama like that? Or the field's tilted, and your team that you're cheering on is always playing uphill. This is right. Am I wrong? This is the equivalent of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
These guys cheated the system and everybody in it. And again, the people who hate Trump have to understand this could just as easily be turned around and used against you.
Yep.
And it is all over the world by dictators. This same thing is used against freedom-loving people that simply want liberty.
Yep.
So have fun in the NFL if you like what your team is doing in DC, then you know how to win games in the NFL. Pay off the refs, cheat, so forth. So thanks for tolerating me. I had to use that analogy.
You're right. And while you guys were talking, I was doing a quick search here because I wanted to find that quote that K. Carl was talking about. And I believe this is the Frederick Douglass quote. And it's really powerful when you listen to the words. So power and those in control concede nothing without a demand. They never have and never will. Each and every one of us must keep demanding, must keep fighting, must keep thundering, must keep plowing, must keep on keeping things struggling, must speak out and speak up until justice is served, because where there is no justice, there is no peace. I think that is a powerful statement by Frederick Douglass.
Good way to wrap this up, I think.
Yeah, I guess, we're at the 37-minute mark here, almost 38 minutes. We got 19 people on X watching. Again, thank you to all those who have spent your morning with us. Let me know in the comments on X if you like the live stream stuff. We'll definitely keep it going. Always shoot me a DM if you have questions. And
talk about our Substack too. Michael's publishing, K. Carl, some great stuff.
Yep, we have the libertycollaborative.substack.com, and our email is libertycollaborative1818@gmail.com. And you can find Mike Hancock on there. You can find K. Carl Smith. I think Chris has written some stuff. I don't do a lot of writing. I'm more of the video and audio guy. So, but yeah, I guess we'll just start going around the table here, so to speak, and closing up. I don't see any other comments coming in. I guess we'll start with you, Mike.
Well, the thing that I would say, going back to my point about education, is that I think it's important for shows like ours to help educate people as to how to recognize the propaganda, right? So if you hear news people saying things like, it was already investigated, right? And or it's old news, all those sorts of things, then you want to say, well, really, is it? Right? And never take on the surface what people are telling you. Please, audience, do your homework. Do your homework. Don't just listen to news sources. Investigate. Read. Look at congressional hearings. Listen to people who are doing that deeper investigation. But the thing that you don't want to do is just simply listen to people who are telling you, oh, there's nothing here to see. That should raise a big flag.
Yeah. Okay, Carl.
Well, it's time to stop defending politicians based on party labels. Because
Wow.
wrong is wrong, whether it comes from the left or the right, doesn't matter. When we care more about defending our side than defending justice, you become part of the problem. That's where we are.
Yep.
A lot of people know what's going on, and those who are I guess collaborating with this whole thought that came up about the Russia hoax. A lot of people went along with that. That's the problem. We need more people who have more courage to be truth tellers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That is a soundbite in itself right there. Chris?
You know, I wrote last fall after the election what the election was really about. And I offered the point of view that it is not about Trump's personality. That certainly is a lightning rod. But what people voted for last fall was the truth. The truth is the fundamental pillar and foundation block of our nation, right? And it's fundamental. Remember, Sam Adams, long before the revolution, in a paper called the Boston Advertiser, wrote, "The foundation of people's ruin at first is laid in small and incremental encroachments upon their liberties." That was years before the revolution. And you saw the British. So likewise, when people can get away with lying, cheating, stealing, remember, they prosecuted, and I don't know whether he's serving time in jail, a senator from New Jersey called Menendez. Menendez had gold bars. Remember that? Cars.
Yep.
Well, there's a guy named Hunter Biden that if you put him on a chart, got cars, got diamonds. It's like identical. People ask, what's up? Why wasn't he prosecuted? Same things. So we've got to hold everyone accountable to the rule of law because we all share that. If it's a tilted justice system, then that's very dangerous. So I'd say to people, hey, Carl, like you guys said, Michael, get educated. And by the way, Michael, what you say to someone who spouts baloney, I think we need to be more polite but forthright and say, tell me exactly what you mean this has already been investigated. By who, when, and what did they find? Because as Ben Shapiro's proved, Douglas Murray, Jordan Peterson, any of these masters, is when you say to someone, what exactly do you mean? Can you give me specifics? Who, what, when? So I want to understand what you're saying. They generally don't have an answer. They're trying to BS you by agreeing with their faulty premise.
Yeah. Or typically the answer is, well, just Google it.
Yeah. Right.
Or ask Siri.
Right.
Yeah.
Ask Siri.
Or worse now, Aaron, my favorite, Ask AI. Comes back with completely biased answers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Chris, about the AI stuff. There's a podcast I was listening to, and people are having relationships with their AI now, and maybe that's a conversation we'll have in the future. And they look at it as some type of deity. But my closing thoughts are right along with everybody else's, but I just want to thank everybody who came on X to watch us. You can find us on your modern 2.0 podcasting app. You can hear us on your Alexa device if you have one. Just ask for the Liberty Collaborative and it will play the latest episode. But, in closing, I think, as it's been said, the founders built a government of laws, not of men, right? We can agree on that. And I think when this grand jury gets going and it starts its legal proceedings, I think that'll be a stress test on the American system. And I guess we'll see if the Constitution still has teeth, or as we've been talking about this fourth branch of government, as if it has already won. So it'll be interesting to see that big accountability if that actually happens. And I hope it does for all of our sakes. But that's all I have. I guess the only other thing for housekeeping is that you can catch us every Thursday at roughly 10:30 a.m. Here on X, and hopefully on our YouTube channel shortly. But please reach out, let us know what you think. And until next week, everybody have a great day and have a great weekend.
Thanks for joining us on the Liberty Collaborative. If today's episode lit a fire or gave you clarity, share it and be part of the movement. Subscribe, leave a review, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, stand firm, stay free,